My name is Courtney Brown, reporting for Brooklyn Eastern Standard. We're here today at Moore Street Market Farms in Bushwick. I'm here with Jonathan Bowe and Yemi Amu, co-founders of Oko Farms.
Hi, my name is Jonathan. So Oko Farms is a company that Yemi and I started about a year ago. Actually a little over a year now. And we do urban agricultural design and build projects. And we also grow food and sell food like regular farmers. This is our largest site that we're operating right now, called the Moore Street Market Farm, located it's on the same block as the Moore Street Market, here sort of on the border of East Williamsburg and Bushwick. And we are doing a combination of regular soil gardening and aquaponic growing.
Okay, Yemi, how did you and Jonathan meet?
Jonathan and I met about 2 years ago, maybe even longer, on a rooftop in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, where I was working as the farm manager of the edible garden that was growing on the roof. Jonathan came on as a volunteer and eventually set up a small aquaponics garden on the roof.
Great. So how did you become interested in farming?
Well, I used to be a chef, which got me into food. And then I just kind of stumbled across aquaponics kind of by chance. And I've always sort of been into science and biological science, and it just kind of really sparked my interest. I got really into it, started doing it sort of as a hobby. And it just kind of kept on growing and growing. And then when I met Yemi, we decided to take it one step further and start doing it more as a career option.
Great. How did you become interested in farming?
My background is actually in health and nutrition education. I started out using hands-on skills as a way of teaching people how to eat healthy, by teaching them how to cook, by teaching them how to shop for groceries, store produce. And then along the way I realized that the problem with my clients wasn't that they necessarily didn't know how to eat. It was about getting access to fresh fruits and vegetables, and that led me to growing food so that I could provide more access to fresh fruits and vegetables for my clients, and then it went on from there.
The average person at home doesn't know what aquaponic farming is, so can you give us a little breakdown?
Sure. So basically it is a hybrid of two different farming techniques. One is aquaculture, which is fish farming, and the other is hydroponics, which is soilless plant growing. So that's where you get the name from. Aquaponics is a combination of aquaculture and hydroponics, aquaponics. So in aquaponics, essentially what we do is we recreate essentially what goes on in a river or a lake. We use beneficial bacteria. There are two different types of bacteria that break down fish waste. So fish excrete ammonia. The waste goes into the water. The bacteria break down that ammonia into a usable plant food called nitrates. The nitrates are absorbed by the plants as a natural fertilizer, and they keep the water clean for the fish so it doesn't become overloaded with their own waste. So essentially what we have going on is this is our fish tank under here. We have to keep it shaded so not too much algae grows. The algae is fine. Actually, we're growing tilapia right now, so they would actually eat the algae, but the algae takes away nutrients from the vegetables that we want to be growing, which we're doing in the back. So we're not up to 100% full scale yet. We're still waiting to get a few more items to complete the full build out. But under here we have just sort of a starter number of tilapia, probably about 6 months old. And there's probably about 30 of them in there. Plus we just have 2 koi fish just because they're pretty. So the water from the fish tank goes into the sump tank. We pump it up to a small swirl filter, and then it runs all the way down to our what's called the media beds, where we have a hydroponic media. It's a mixture of something called hydrogen, which is expanded clay pellets, and gravel.
So this is filled with, as you can see, gravel. And these balls, they're just expanded clay balls. What this does is serve as a substitute for soil. And this type of system is good for heavier plants. Tomatoes are really heavy plants. They need something to hold on to. And a media bed is perfect for that. Also in a media bed, you can do things like have worms so that you can make compost tea. So we have worms in this media bed right now, and it's producing a lot of extra nutrients for...
So worms are a good thing.
Worms are a great thing. Composting worms are a great thing. It provides natural fertilizer for your soil. These tomato plants we actually saved from a community garden that was getting rid of extra seedlings. We put them in the system last week, I think last Thursday. If I pull this out for you, you can see these are the old roots that was growing in soil. These are all the brand new roots.
So everything circulates through, like where does the water come from that's in this pipe?
So this pipe is being fed from the sump tank. The sump tank is the lowest point in the whole system. It's kind of a safety measure. It keeps the main fish tank from being flooded or drained out if something were to go wrong. So this all comes from the lowest point in the system, and then from here, this is the first introduction into the vegetable growing. From this point, it's taken through the entire system just with gravity. Then it gets back down to the sump tank and is pumped back up to the highest point, and then is brought back again all the way through gravity. So we only have one pump running the entire system.
Okay, so why don't you tell me a little bit about what's exactly growing here?
All right, as you can see, we're still in the process of planting. All of these styrofoam boards you see here are called floating rafts because, as you see, they literally float on top of the water, and the holes are where the plants grow out of. So we have a bunch of varieties of basil here and shiso. We have a basil plant here. It goes in rock wool, right? So this was planted from seed. The seed went in here, and then we put the rock wool in the cup, and then back into the hole, and literally this is where the plant spends most of its life. So this is basil. This is a different type of basil. You can see the roots growing out in the rock wool. Have shiso over here. We have onions back there with purslane. We have purple basil here with more basil. There are a variety of other things growing. There's more purple basil there that's just beginning to sprout. There's kale here that's just, if you can see this, it's just beginning to sprout in the rock wool. So what we tried to do on the floating raft is grow leafy greens. They're not too heavy, they won't tip over. What makes aquaponics work is that the water is constantly flushed with nitrogen that's coming from the fish waste. Leafy greens are heavy nitrogen feeders, so they do perfectly well just sitting in water on the floating raft.
How long will it take for products like this to be ready to be, purchased, to be taken home?
Well, a well set up aquaponics system can in ideal circumstances, grow food 3 times faster than just regular soil growing.
Oh.
So it really all depends on the plant that you're growing. Lettuce is probably one of the highest turnarounds as far as the fastest growing plants. Basil also does extremely well. We're also going to be growing things like kale. We have tomatoes in the media beds. But the fruiting plants like tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, all those things, they do take a little bit longer to grow. But either way, they can still all receive the benefit of the aquaponic system, and still tend to grow a little bit faster. But really, aquaponics is all around best for your leafy vegetables. Any lettuces, any leafy herbs, kale, collard greens, anything in the brassica family.
It's healthier for human consumption, you're saying, or?
Well, it's healthier for human consumption because it's so fresh.
Right.
But as far as the plant's needs, what the plant needs to grow, a lot of these plants are high nitrate feeders, and that's what's very abundant in an aquaponic system is nitrates. The plants like peppers, cucumbers, tomatoes, they have a little more diverse nutritional needs. So sometimes you have to supplement a little bit when you're doing those fruiting plants. But the leafy greens, the chard, your kale, they do exceptionally well.
Why this location in Brooklyn?
Pretty much the entire reason that we're in this location is because of the Brooklyn Economic Development Corporation. more specifically a woman named Joan Bartolomeo, who is the president. She is the one who saved the Moore Street Market from being torn down and turned into a development, basically a condominium building. So the Moore Street Market is one of the old pushcart markets that were built back when Mayor LaGuardia was in office. It's similar to the building that's in the Lower East Side, the Essex Street Market. It's really the same concept. So this market's been in the neighborhood for a long time. She found out that this vacant lot that was owned by the city was able to be turned into a place to do agriculture. And she was looking for farmers to take care of it. And we were introduced to her through a mutual friend. And everything seemed to work out. And so we decided to take on the project. And yeah, so it's really largely because of Joan. She connected all the dots that brought this farm together and made it happen.
Reflect with me a little. How has it grown since the first day you got here to now?
Okay, so we went through Green Thumb to actually get the property, which the whole process took about a year. And then we signed the lease for the space. Well, actually, the Brooklyn Economic Development Corporation signed the lease for the space in February. And we started work in late March. Was it about late March? So we've built a lot since late March. When we first stepped onto the site, it was pretty nasty. It's still pretty cold out. It was just completely strewn with trash and broken glass and liquor bottles, syringes, couches, TVs, just everything under the sun. So we cleaned out that first. We contacted the landlord who owns the building over here, and their backyard was even worse, just filled with stuff than this actual lot. And we really didn't want to have that section of the lot being such an eyesore, and also just potentially harboring rats and pests and just all kinds of things that we didn't want. So we called her up. We asked her if we cleaned out her backyard, if we would be able to use it. She doesn't live in the state anymore and understands like how in disrepair her backyard was falling into. So she was happy to have us come along. She was happy that we contacted her. She signed a free lease with us. We cleaned up all the stuff in her backyard, and I mean, it was just, there was a Chinese restaurant there before that was illegally dumping all their fry oil into the earth, and we had to dig all the stuff out, and there was just all kinds of craziness back here. So we cleaned the place up. Yeah, it's been a long way. We were lucky enough they had this shed here when we first got here. The previous owners actually had used it as his pigeon shed. He used to, it's kind of a Brooklyn tradition to raise pigeons. And, so this used to be a pigeon shed. Now it's our tool shed.
So what's your name?
Carlos Ramirez.
And how are you related to this project, Carlos?
Well, my uncle used to own the property, and I had a friend that used to have pigeons. They used to have birds, and I got into it. I used to go on his roof every day, fly the birds. After a while, he moved to Pennsylvania, so he left me the birds, and I built the coop. I had the coop over here, and I used to fly the birds, and I used to take them different routes. They used to come back, and I had all type of birds. Yeah, and all my family used to work in the property. My uncle had the store here, then we moved in this side, and then my brother had to move down the block. Now he retired, and I'm the only one left in the block.
So you may not have planned to be in this part of Brooklyn, but what do you think having your farm here how has that impacted the community?
I think the biggest impact it's had now is that this is no longer a garbage dump. When we came here last year to check out the site, it was A, full of garbage, B, a hangout spot for the drunks in the neighborhood. So the biggest impact it's had right now is that it's now a beautiful space that people can come to and look at what's growing. And we've had a lot of people come in and talk about how beautiful it looks, how so much nicer it looks. In December, was it December last year or January last year? I don't remember, but we actually came with a camera and talked to people in the neighborhood about what they thought could be done with this site and what it would be for it to be a garden. And a lot of people didn't think it would happen. They didn't think anything positive could come out of this location. So it's really cool now to have people stop by and say, wow, this place looks so great. I can't believe this happened. That's the biggest impact. The second impact is, again, access to fresh fruits and vegetables. There are vendors who carry produce, of course, but it's nice to come in here and get fresh basil. Somebody came in yesterday and bought like a whole head of basil because she said she's been smelling basil and finally tracked the smell over here. So that kind of stuff, I think it's really good for kids to see green spaces in their neighborhoods, for the elderly people to walk by and see green spaces in their neighborhood. This is a Puerto Rican neighborhood, largely Puerto Rican, and people often come in here and say, this reminds me of being in Puerto Rico. So it's nice to have that effect on the community.
Virginia, known as Miss V, has lived in the community for more than 30 years.
Hi, my name is Virginia, and I'm happy to see you guys here looking at our community.
What was this lot before?
This was actually an eyesore. This was a lot that had broken bottles, hypodermic needles, just all kinds of things that could harm our children, and it wasn't good for the community. So seeing this turn into something positive, like something growing, plants growing, just means a lot, because this was an eyesore. And I raised children in this community, so my children were raised here, and so actually coming by, my daughter says to me, wow, Mommy, look at what they're doing to this lot. And so that's what made me come in and actually ask John, like, what's going on here and what are you doing? And as he explained what he was going to do, I asked him, did he know about 257, the school? And, you know, I started telling the youth in my community about what's going to be happening here. So hopefully they'll show a big interest and participate in this garden here.
How is the farm directly interacting with the Brooklyn community?
Well, one of the things that's happening right now, of course, is that people are coming in to volunteer and help out. But the missing element is that people do not really understand how aquaponics works. So one of the things that we're going to be doing is providing guided tours where people can come in, groups and individuals can come in and learn more about not just agriculture, but aquaponics specifically, and also offering education to the schools of the neighborhood. We have BES 257 that's right around the corner that's very interested in teaching their second graders about aquaponics.
So why don't you tell me a little bit about the mural you have here?
So the mural was done by a group called Arts in Bushwick. It was actually, the design was sort of imagined by middle school kids. They came and painted it with the help of a professional artist.
That was a collaboration between the Brooklyn Economic Development Project and Arts in Bushwick. They'd been looking to do a mural project in the neighborhood, and they thought that this would be a perfect site to do it. It was also great because it was this wall that was like stained with black smoke and a bunch of different things. So it was really nice to have this here. It was also the first pretty thing on the lot. So before the plants started growing, before we were done constructing, we had this beautiful mural here. It's beautiful to have it. It's the first thing that people see when they walk in. And we're really grateful to Arts in Bushwick for giving us this beautiful piece of art.
So we've been working in collaboration with the Brooklyn Economic Development Corporation, the Beacon Center for Arts and Leadership through the Coalition for Hispanic Family Services, Miriam Castillo, local Bushwick professional muralist, and Oko Farms, who are responsible for putting together this amazing aquaponic farm. This will be a farm that is it is open to the public. It's through New York City Green Thumb, and there are vegetables growing, and there are fish, and a whole aquaponic system. And so it's been also a great opportunity for the kids to learn a little bit about urban agriculture and farming, and a different type of farm here.
So this is a collaboration with the kids from Beacon School and Arts in Bushwick, all together to participate in Bushwick Open Studios, and it's piece, as you can see, it's about food. So the main idea was to kind of like translate how food connects communities, because we're in a market, so it was kind of like to change all these topics of food and love, and we asked the kids what they think about that and how they think like food connects people, and they were like, you know, it's just about love, you know, like it's about like sharing that moment with your family and when your mom cooks for you, or like it's just that moment when you share. So that's why I came up with this picnic with their main, like they always say that they love pizza, like that's kind of like their favorite food. So this is like a pizza guy, and then a toast and a chicken, because they also love chicken. And another kid had this idea of like a huge tree with all kinds of food, like just one tree that will provide with everything that you want. So that tree here. And we did all this together. We had a lot of people helping, the teachers, Lauren from Arts in Bushwick, and it was like a collective kind of like project. And in my, I wanted to do more like a coloring book, so it will be easy to participate, and because the kids really wanted to be here, and they were volunteering. Nobody forced them to come, like even though it was through school, but they just wanted to learn how to do murals, which that was kind of like my motto, like to come here and kind of like teach kids how to work with this. For me, I think that's very cool to at that age have this kind of experience. Well, the whole thing took like probably 2 months from beginning to end. We started with a workshop where we ask and we sketch all together. After that, I did the sketch, and then we came to they cleaned the wall. This place was totally different. Like what you see right now, this was nothing like that. So they transformed this place. They painted the wall in primer, and then we sketch. And then every Saturday around, probably it was like 6 sessions. We came every morning for like 3 hours and worked on this. And this is the result. So I think they like the experience. It was my first time working with kids, so it was an experiment for me as well, and I like it. I will do it again.
Been able to get this place built if it wasn't for a couple really important private donations, as well as Build a Green NYC. Home Depot has actually been huge in helping us. They actually had a personal employee come out and personally plant just a whole bunch of plants and flowers all over the garden. NYRP has been amazing. They donated a whole truckload, probably about a cubic yard or a couple cubic yards of compost, as well as all the wood chips that are covering the entire farm. So we've been really blessed as far as what people have been giving us. We have a retired electrician in the neighborhood who's been installing all of our electrical work for free. So it's been pretty amazing.
So this isn't just a summer thing. Does it work all year round as well?
Absolutely. We really didn't start planting until the summer, but really the farming season is spring, summer, fall in the Northeast. But we plan to do year-round. So we plan to do spring, summer, fall, and winter. Our goal is to do a huge fundraiser late August, early September, where we're going to raise money for our greenhouse so that we can grow food year-round and we can keep our fish warm year-round.
Where would the greenhouse be here, or
the greenhouse would be right here, and it would be built over the entire space, so that our grow beds, which you're looking at up in front, and the fish tank up in front will be enclosed under the greenhouse.
And would that be year-round? The greenhouse would be
The greenhouse would be year-round, yes. What we will do in the summer, of course, is raise it so that we can get air circulating, and then in the winter it would be fully covered.
What do you see this farm being like in about 10 years?
10 years, wow.
Ideally.
Well, hopefully by then, we will be pretty state-of-the-art by then. We'll have made enough money. The whole goal is we want to try and make this sustainable. In a large part, this is sort of an experimental farm. We're sort of playing around with ideas and seeing how a farm of this style, specifically an aquaponic farm, can work in New York. So we have the free land from the city, gives us a little leeway to sort of experiment with different ideas, so that we don't have quite the overhead, and allows us to give us time, sort of like an incubator almost, to see if something like this can be sustainable. So we're hopefully going to build it up to a point where it can start to make a profit. We will be holding classes for local public schools. We'll also be holding classes for adults so they can learn how to do aquaponics for themselves in their own backyards. We're going to be producing as many vegetables and fish and fruits as we possibly can. Hopefully some freshwater crustaceans in the future too. Productivity is the goal. I mean, just a lot of productivity, whether it's growing food or teaching people. We are planning on eventually taking on some new sites. As with farming, I mean, you can only grow as big as your space because you need space to grow food. So we hope in 10 years that we'll have multiple spots like this, even larger. This space that we're working with now is approximately 3,500 square feet. It'd be nice to finally get up to over an acre at some point because this is a micro farm in the whole scheme of things. But yeah, just growing a lot of food and teaching a lot of people.
This is Courtney Brown from Brooklyn Eastern Standard signing off from Moore Street Market Farms.